Good morning from a very muggy, very mild, partially sunny, possibility of rain, almost stress-free Peterborough. What we got on today? Well, I'm still continuing with the Upflow filter. I've just got a box of fittings, my air pump and my water pump. I'm still waiting for a 1.5 inch threaded decoupler. Would you believe I had 3 plain ones and 1 threaded, but there you go. So when that arrives I can put the pump on. We've had 2 hedgehogs running up and down last night. We've had a lot of birds splashing, enjoying their self activity. We've seen over the last few days 10 goldfish. So although we saw the heron taking a goldfish 3 months ago now, we still have 10 left. Yes, I know. So what I've done is got the local spiders together, and hopefully they will manufacture 5 cobweb bricks to fill this gap in. We shall see. You probably noticed that I've got the bridge of sighs, because when I get over the other side the bridge is sighing. So the little plan is, those bricks are basically just sat on top of that skimmer top, and what I'd like to do is build some kind of frame for all 5 to sit in, put some mortar on the inside so I can actually lift them out as a block instead of one at a time. Possibility of working? Yeah, I think it'll work. What are we talking now? About a week ago we put in the 2nd dose of flukes, and as the 2nd dose, as with the 1st dose went in, the fish went ballistic, and I took that as mentioned on Adam Julian's channel, that the flukes didn't like it. Everything settled down after that, and then we noticed 2 of the older fish that we've had some time, they started flicking about. The introduction of the new fish hadn't taken place at that time, so it was still the original fish that were in there. We took a scrape yesterday on probably the only fish we could catch really, but it was one of those that was flicking furiously, and we found 1 dead fluke, nothing else. No trick, no white spot, nothing. And then we noticed that it seemed to happen after we fed them. So of course, I've been putting the fish food in the greenhouse, and it says store in a cool, dry place. Is that the reason why they're flicking? Because the food is not kept at the correct temperature? I don't know. But anyway, all the food has come out of the greenhouse, or will be coming out, and it's going in the garage in a dark, cool place. So we'll monitor the progress after that. Tomorrow Kat will be doing a regular water test, which might show something or might not show something. We shall see. But anyway, in the meantime, FlukeSolve Plus seems to have done its job. So I've ordered another packet just for safekeeping from Cuttlebrook. I ordered that yesterday and it's been delivered today. So again, fantastic service from Cuttlebrook. The price has now jumped, as a subscriber had said, from $59.95 to $64.95. So just be aware of that. Pays to shop around, but the service that I got off Cuttlebrook, I thought I'll stick with them. Right, let's have a look at something else. The new fish that we got from Japan Koi Imports have settled in nicely. the paratina instantly took to one of the larger fish, and I sort of stuck with that ever since. It took them a good couple of hours before they started taking food, but once they started they didn't stop, so they're eating quite well. Just as a matter of course, I put some JPD mud booster into the pond yesterday. I was a little bit cautious because I've heard so many things about the product getting stuck in drums, clogging it up, forever cleaning, UV's not turned off, stuff in the shower, the sponges in the shower not taken out. But as it's been sat there a while, I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. So we had to use 10 grams per 1,000 litres. So I put in 130, I think we're just short of 130 gram, but I put 130 gram in. And the water was cloudy for at least 12 to 14 hours. I woke up this morning and there is a definite gloss or sheen to the water, and the water quality is improved. One thing I'd like to try is the Koi Masters Advantage. I've heard so much about it and all good stuff, so perhaps one day I might give that a go, but because we've got a bag of JPD, I thought I might as well start that and use it. Difficult to tell with reflections, I haven't got the polarising filter on. But they are all good as gold. So as soon as that threaded fitting arrived, I can do a bit more on the Upflow filter. I'm going to start knocking a brick out to put a T-piece in the 3-inch return pipe from the shower. Another little bit more. Upflow filter. Where are we now? I'll follow you. So there we go. That is going to be the final position. The return will drop down, and the options are to go through this wall, tee into that 3-inch pipe and utilise the same return until I find one that I like, or come across the top somehow and drop down and return it back into the moving bed. Not a big fan of that idea, because if and when we chop and change this standalone, I'm not going to say standalone upflow filter, I'm going to say this standalone area, so it's got its own air, water and waste supply and return, which we can play around and modify without disturbing the rest of the pond. So I think up to now I'm going to go through the brick wall and tee into the 3-inch pipe. I've already got a tee, I just need a reducer, bore a hole through the wall, happy days. So wherever there's positives there's always a negative, and I'm not going to harp on about it, it's just a little negative. When I was fitting the waste to the upflow filter, which is this pipe, so I've got a valve, length of pipe, a rubber 2-inch, and then I cut the end off that blank to allow me to reuse that return. This area here I can totally disconnect and add the 1-inch solenoid for when I want to automate the upflow filter. But while I was cutting the end cap off the waste pipe, and I should have just used a rubber fitting but I didn't, there was that much vibration, I created yet another crack in my JBR Plastics skimmer box.
So as usual, it has to be the furthest place away. It was in the underside of this overflow, somewhere up there in the darkness. Sort of a bit of desperation, I just got some more Indasa Indasa polyurethane sealant and smeared it on like a baby's nappy. And even last night, while I was laid underneath doing my best to smear it on as a temporary solution, the drips, although very, very sparse, kept dripping. I had this bowl underneath all night, and just that tiny bit of water was the result. I've now removed that, just left it on bare concrete, and I'll monitor that for the rest of the day with the hope that it's now finally blocked up. We shall see. I'm not going to be rude and disrespectful to JBR Plastics, but I have had 2 other subscribers get in touch with me and say they suffered with minor fractures which must have occurred in the construction of the box, and they're having to clog up very similar to me. So whether the processes have changed fractionally or they've increased the speed or whatever with COVID and trying to catch up with orders, I have no idea. But as a result, I've had now 2 cracks, and 2 other subscribers have had cracks. So if you are getting a JBR Plastics, and they are very, very good, I can recommend them. Just have a good look around the boss fittings and the creases, because it caught me out. Anyway, there you go. So the discussion point in the last video was where do I get my water supply for the Upflow filter. So I keep harping on that I would like a standalone supply for the Upflow filter, and any other filter that I might be able to use in the future can use the same supply. However, the people that drums cleaning, the people that put forward ideas, and I'm glad that they're putting forward in the way that I would expect them to put, was I wouldn't do that because, and they give me an explanation, and it's something that you can grab hold of and think, yeah, that's actually quite good. I'm one of these people, because I'm from the north, is as soon as somebody says don't do that, I've already gone past that comment and moved on. But to sort of get a bit of a happy medium, what I might look into is using this here. So this will then give me a dirty water supply, and then I've got a standard tank connector which I can put in there, although it has to have a sieve on to stop the K1, micro K1 following it out, or anywhere in this area, and that will give me a dirty water supply and a filtered water supply, which I can then run through a valve. So I can put a valve here, and I can put a valve there or somewhere, and then basically tee the 2 together to go into the pump, which is going to sit here, and this will be the supply for the Upflow filter, and the waste is tucked under there somewhere. Don't know if you can see it. So it's all a bit rough and ready at the moment, but I've got all the kit to make that happen. So like I said, I will have an isolated supply from the moving bed, and an isolated supply from the bottom drain. So I have the option to try dirty water and filtered water through the Upflow filter. And one other thing I might add is that so many people have said, oh, it's a polishing filter. Now, straight away you get told it's a polishing filter. There's always people out there, these are the people that I like, they will go, what if? So I've then watched other people's Upflow filter videos where they haven't just got one, say, Tempest, they've got 2 Tempests. I saw a subscriber that had a pump fed pond, and he put a Y connector in his feed to his Nexus, so he fed his Nexus and his Upflow filter direct from the bottom of the pond, dirty water. An additional filter, at the end of the day, it's a filter. Whether it filters fines or filters big clots of dirt, which will then require more cleaning, it's still a filter. So you could argue to the ends of the earth, and the bottom line is, I'm going to try both and see which is going to be more successful. If I find that with dirty water, and it wouldn't surprise me if I did, that I'm cleaning it out very regular, I'll switch over to filtered water and monitor that. This is all about, for me, about experimentation. Terry Wright, the master of experimentation and tinkering, and I'll see you on Thursday, Terry. Terry Wright is one of these people, and I do appreciate this, is he will try and change and alter and improve, and he'll always report back his successes and his failures with equal joy. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. For me, not enough people do that. They can be quite narrow in their thinking. Oh, it's only an Upflow polishing filter. For me, too narrow. And that's my personal opinion, nothing else. Right, we'll leave it there, come back with something else. Bye.
So, the fish. And we just see them disappearing gently into the sunset there. Where have you got to? So we noticed a couple were flicking and flashing, and we'd put the clay in, which had seemed to calm things down. Next day, again a couple flicked, but only did it after food, and that was Clint. It's a Deutz, it's the Kikakuru, but it's a Deutz fish, and it's always highly strung, and always the first to flash. So okay, it does it. Didn't do it when we didn't put food in. So put a bit more food in, and then Bob, which is the, I don't know, possibly Becco with a bit of a bled Tancho. Tancho's bled onto its back. Anyway, it's the garden centre one, little, who started flashing. So we thought we'd scrape, and this must have been Monday. So we got Bob out. Well, we tried to get Clint out. Clint's a feisty little bugger, and jumps. And if we actually have to bowl it, it's going to be a struggle, because it jumped. We managed to get Bob out, created a little bit of fuss, but we noticed was looking quite pink and veiny. Scraped it, found a dead fluke. Okay, well that's all well and good, so popped him back in. But we keep an eye. Weather changed a bit. We've obviously had, well, we were supposed to have torrential showers at the weekend, amber warning and yellow warning and all that, which had nothing. We have had some thunder and some rain over the next couple of days after that. But they just weren't themselves, just weren't eating quite as much, weren't coming up to the hand, which I think, to be honest, we put down to the fact that there was some new fish in the pond. It's just upset the equilibrium, and so didn't think much of it until 2 days ago. Yeah, it must have been 2 days ago. I get home from work and Steve said he's just not happy with them. A couple of them were, excuse the sparrows, floating slightly nose down, just not really interested. So came out to feed them, and the sorghoi wasn't feeding. Sorghoi will eat anything, and because at that point we knew there was a real problem. So I thought we need to do something about this. Steve went down to get to Japan Koi Imports yesterday, and I'm really worried I'm going to get a starling on my shoulder at the moment. Steve went down to Japan Koi Imports, picked up chloramine T, some FMG. We knew there was no flukes. Well, on the scrape we'd done, it was only one dead fluke. So maybe it's some other parasite, which I hope not, but need to check. I got home from work yesterday and we had another go at getting Clint out, and once again it was flying across the pond. We managed to bowl Gordon, which is the Gin Matsuberish. Again, they all jumped when we tried to get them out. Scraped it and we found 2 dead flukes, but nothing living, with a decent amount of mucus on the slide. So I thought, well, let's try one of the bigger fish, the older, more experienced. We managed to get yellow out without any damage when it jumped. And once again, the story was the same this time. Good amount of mucus, not massive, but a good amount, and nothing in it at all. So no flukes, nothing growing, nothing dead. We did notice, however, when we turned both Gordon and Yellow upside down, that they were really quite pink and quite inflamed. And look at them now. Honestly, butter wouldn't melt, would it? So, don't really think about it. It's like, well, it's not parasites. We haven't seen any parasites. We haven't seen any fungi. So is it bacterial infection? And certainly something is irritating their skin and inflaming their skin. So, another quick word with gurus down Japan Koi Imports, and they, well, let's try some Acriflavine. So another trip down this morning for me, and came back with, I've got 2.5 litres of stuff so that we don't have to keep popping down there, because it's been suggested we do a couple of treatments. Word about Acriflavine: it's bright orange, which is what I expected when to come in, but it actually contains fluorescein, so the same as you have in your antifreeze in the car. So when it gets wet, it goes this really bright fluorescent colour. So you can see it as it's going in the water. It's an antiseptic or bacteriostatic, and what that means is it doesn't kill the bacteria, but it stops them growing and it stops them multiplying, which then allows whichever animal's immune system to start tackling the problem. So when you're talking about humans, the antibiotics we use, most of those are bactericidal, which means they actually kill the bacteria off. Some aren't. Some of them just slow the bacteria growth and stop them multiplying, so we can deal with it, but most of them are. So, but this is an antiseptic, so which just stops the growing. So we'd also tested the water quality last night, and that's probably as good as we're going to get it. The chlorine was pretty much negligible now. It really was none. Nitrates, nitrites, the tiniest tinge, not enough to register on the scale. Ammonia 0. GH, KH, well the KH is still about 6, which is slightly lower than it was most of last year, but it's still okay. Still got enough buffer in. And the pH, which obviously is the thing that goes wrong if your KH is down. The pH was fine. It was 8, which is normal. We checked it a couple of times with a couple of different readers. So get the water quality as good as you can, and treat them with a bactericidal. And we put extra air in, knowing that we were going to treat some stuff. We've got to not feed them, because obviously anything that kills the bacteria in the pond is also going to kill the bacteria in the filter. So we need to stop eating them to prevent big ammonia nitrate spikes. But so they haven't been that interested, so that's not too much of a problem at the moment. Turn the UV off, take the floss out, and stick the stuff in. We put it in over an hour. It's 350 mils for our pond, which went in the watering can, just put it in slowly over an hour. And all of a sudden the fish are swimming like normal. And I think the lesson for us is either they're high on something, or we need to put extra air in a little bit sooner than we have. And I think that's probably the lesson. Because they're swimming past me at the moment. I'll show you in a minute if they come back. There we go. Like nothing's wrong. So that's Bob, who's just on top, and then Clint, who's the other to talk about. You can see actually And that's interesting because Clint has got a little bit of pox come out again. Clint was really rattled when we put him in the pond. That's the Sorogoya, and you can see the clamped fin on this side, and it's a little bit pink in its armpits. So there obviously is something going on. They perked up with the extra air, which is great news. We're going to say we're not going to feed them. Well, it looks like they're going to burst out and march into the kitchen in a minute. And fingers crossed that this is purely because having put the Flukes Plus in, it's perhaps stripped the mucus coat, which has allowed infection to creep in. Of course, the more they scratch, the more chances there is that you can actually get a little bit of nick in the skin, which allows the bacteria to enter. So when you think about infections, what you need is you need to have bacteria, but you also need to have an in point. So we all have bacteria on our skin, and I'm sure the fish have got bacteria on their skin every day. It's just a normal thing, but you have to have an in point where the bacteria then gets in, and then the bacteria has to be overwhelm the natural immune systems enough to cause this response in the body, which is inflammation. Which is why we don't all walk around with bacterial infections all the time, and presumably why the fish don't get it. They've got this mucus coat that just protects the skin and scales and stops it happening. So that's where we're at, and we'll keep you updated. Thank you.
So I've just been tinkering around with the bricks, and I've just basically created a wooden frame to set these on. And what I'm going to do is, well, as you can see, I've passed a really thick dowel down the centre. I'm going to create a little handle just out of some rope, so when I need to move it, probably there and there I reckon, when I need to move it, I can just pick the whole lot out. And then if the bricks turn up or ever arrive, I'll get the builder just to mortar in these gaps and make it look as close to a wall as possible. We shall see. So this is where we are with the mock-up skimmer cover. So I've just basically created a plywood frame. This end is curtain pole, and then I've joined the bricks together with waterfall foam, and then if I ever get the other 5 bricks on, we live in hope, I'll ask the builder to just mortar inside these 4 gaps, and then that should look alright from a distance, I reckon. Plus it's nice and straight because they were all bowed in, but anyway, works for me. That's another segment. Pump in position, slippers on. Right, I think we've subjected you to enough, so we'll call it a draw there. Thanks to my lovely wife for that explanation, because clearly I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have been able to pronounce all the big words. Just built myself a little perch because the beer chair was just too long and you kept banging my knees going to the greenhouse. As it stands now, the fish have just perked up. They're at a completely different pond in front of us, so as Kat explained, plenty of air. The FMG and Acriflavine and the Flukes Plus and things like that, basically we're just stockpiling a chemist, but rest assured we wouldn't have started chucking loads and loads of chemicals in without scraping and doing water quality checks first, just in case you were worried. Anyway, in the meantime, thanks for watching another episode of how to spend loads and loads of money just bizarrely. How to worry over fish and other amazing adventures. Thanks for your time, thank you for your subscriptions.
enjoy your weekend, enjoy the sun because it looks as though it's going to run out. Get a second jab, protect your family, stay safe. Bye bye.